sells homes. He sells homes in different area codes. Area codes. Homes. Homes in different area codes. Area codes.
Man, you know who they remind me of? Who I'm another big fan of is Black Crowes.
I like the Black Crowes. It reminds me of someone else we saw at Melon Mine. Starts with an R.
Rihanna.
No. I could not get my husband to a Rihanna concert.
The Revivalists.
The Revivalists. Oh my gosh.
And we're the same person split into two different bodies right now.
God, they had a great show.
Oh, what's the song by the Revivalists? They are.
Oh, I stinking love
They are
it.
incredible.
They are incredible.
Man, I can't believe that.
So those
have
are the
you listened to much of the Revivalists before?
Dude,
I'm guessing that you would like them.
So I've been to those two concerts, a yoga class, and a wedding at the Mill in the Mine.
So you're a regular.
Well-rounded Mill in the Mine guest.
You experienced the gamut of what they offer there, right?
But it's all been fun.
All right, so I need to get a pen. It's one of the things I need to grab here. Did I have a pen in my lap?
That's hilarious.
There we go.
Well, I'm not going to take any notes.
You don't have to. You're the guest.
I know. I told my son today I was coming over here. I was going to be on a podcast. And he was like, you are what? I said, I can't imagine anybody wants to hear anything I have to say, but here I go.
Did you tell your daughter also you were coming on a podcast?
They know it.
Did she tell you she knew already you were coming on a podcast?
No, or I guess I told her.
Yeah, because I've been speaking with Elaine.
Oh, have you?
Surprise! I was like, I need some dirt on Ann because
she's a mess.
She walks the line so much and is like such a solid steward every single day. I've got to get
not at all. Well, Elaine's latest news is she's going to go on a survival Oneida.
What is that?
So a good friend of theirs from college did Survivor Kingston. He's from Kingston. And he got his family, his uncle, their friends. We watched the first episode last night. And it's on YouTube TV. And I guess it's gotten good pushback. I don't know. So he's going to plan the second one. And he asked her husband, Sean, who's perfect, to be on it. Uh-huh. And anyway, he's taking architecture exams and he can't go. And so he said, well, I need women. Would Elaine come? Well, Elaine is way too nice to be on Survivor.
Yeah.
But she's like going to do it.
So it's based off of like the CBS Survivor show, the spin off of that, I guess.
And I guess that's 39 days or something. This is 39 hours. Mm-hmm. And this first one was shot. I'll send you the link. It was actually, well, I knew a lot of the people in it, but it's really kind of fun. You don't watch any TV. So I maybe watched Survivor 20 years ago, maybe in Tanzania or something. But I'm like, Elaine, I think you're going to be terrible. And she was like, Mom.
Thanks for
and I was like, you're just too nice. And, you're such a people pleaser. And she was like, well, but there's a lot of mental puzzles. And so I decided last night after watching the first episode, I was going to be a wreck watching it because I'd be so afraid she's going to get kicked off and cry or something.
So is it set like on I'm picturing it like Survivor Kingston. So what's the Kingston?
It's on the lake.
Okay, so like in the middle of like Lake Loudon, basically.
And I'm guessing Oneida will probably be in the big South Fork or,
Okay. Oh, wow. So it's legitimately there.
So she's flying in for the weekend. They'll tape it all in one weekend.
So when Survivor hit its height, I was a senior at DB. And I guess I can tell this now because Miss Collabro has since retired and I'm not in high school anymore. But Friday was designated as Survivor Friday. And Justin Lane, who now works for the government in Tennessee with economic development, I believe, Justin would record Survivor on a VHS and then he would bring it
great.
hospitality and tourism, I think, class, and we would watch it in class. That was our Friday, and we would see who got voted off. Like the lights would be off, and you'd hear like all these cheers or boos or like oohs and ahs. So yeah, I'm well versed.
I mean, I think of it as real physical, and I mean, she's reasonably physical. I mean, she is, but she's not like a mega athlete. But she is smart.
But beyond that, it's so psychological, though.
Oh, it is.
You know,
but you got to do the physical, too, or they'll vote your
little
ass
clicks
off in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Of course, in 24 hours. I mean, I don't know how much. But
anyway.
That's exciting. So, I guess now that we've talked for, a good 25 minutes on here. And
Let's get started.
And it's recording. And Greenfield is my second guest on He Sells Homes. And statistically speaking, since Blair was the first guest, you're the first person I've had on that I don't have children with. So.
Oh, great. That's official.
Right.
I'm beyond childbearing years, so.
So, you were initially going to be the first guest. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, and I watched y'all, so I'm glad y'all got a little bit of that out.
Well, I'm glad we got it out too, because that was the main reason that we brought Blair on. Because and we actually mentioned this in the show. It's like, look, if it bombs, we'll just scrap it.
Yeah.
If you come over here and we host you and
we
it's
could
official,
scrap this one too if it bombs.
You're super busy. That will be the worst thing ever. So I've got one under my belt. And now I'm going into it with some confidence, right?
Okay, well, you rock it. I'll do my best.
I guess as you saw, the whole premise of this show is having guests on that I've transacted with, but beyond that, cool people that I want to bring on and drink beer with
there you
in
go.
a room in my house.
I can do
that. And discuss things outside of the scope of real estate. But
sure.
I always like to start off kind of like with an intro and how we actually got to know each other.
Yes.
The transactions come in later on because I contacted you for the very first time. And I know this because I was bicycle shopping for Quinn's birthday in July of 2019. We were over at Reedy Creek.
Yeah.
And Blair was like, we're like a few months out from this client appreciation party and you don't even have a venue, which is totally normal for me to be in that position with that amount of time because I work better under chaos. I guess that's how I like to say I procrastinate. It sounds a whole lot better.
It does.
So I call you up as Quinn's like riding around the store honking this horn. And I'm like, hey, Ann, I like your venue. I've been there a few times. I would like to host my client appreciation party at High Voltage. And you were like, yeah, let's do this. And you start reeling off all these times you have available and what you guys can offer and what it looks like from the beer standpoint, from the food standpoint. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to come meet with you. And I got off the phone and Blair was much happier with me because the procrastination's done. I've got a meeting set in stone. But I knew immediately after talking with you that I wanted to have it there.
Well, that's awesome.
And it was basically because of just how well that initial conversation went with you, which is essentially how every conversation we've ever had has gone, which we've been here, the camera's been on for 20 minutes, but even beyond that.
No, I really wish you would remind me of that. Yeah.
We've
always had a great time talking.
We have.
Of course, you like to talk and so do I.
I know, right? We've both got that gift of gab for sure.
I don't know if it's a gift some days, but we can talk.
Or a curse. So we set up the meeting and I come over and introduce myself in person to you, and we book the first ever Seth Jervis client appreciation party, right?
And then
you
come in with your phone, and you're like, I'm just gonna put this out there, and you're like talking and taping on your phone, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this party's gonna get me some advertising. Didn't realize that. It's always a nice side effect, but I never really, but yeah, you were like walking around, showing my space off, talking about it. It was like, okay, this is going to be awesome.
Well, I was excited about it.
And then Zach was going to do your food.
Yeah.
It's like, gracious, this is going to be awesome.
Because, I mean, it was just like a super hyper local party. And
it was really fun though, wasn't it?
Oh gosh, that was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, y'all dressed up to the max. I mean, everybody's costumes were fabulous.
Well, I was a little worried about it because Anthony actually shot me after he had interviewed everyone that was there. And all the interviews and testimonials that people gave about, Seth sold me my house and he did this and he stepped in and I wouldn't have known to do this, but he did that and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the night, I'm a disheveled wreck. Of course, we've all had drinks, we've thrown axes, we've eaten food, and I'm getting ready to hop in a limousine and head to the Vita Christmas party at Capone's. And so I probably should have filmed myself prior to all that going down. So I get on camera with a Christmas sweater that says "Shitter's Full," and it has Cousin Eddie's RV on it.
I totally remember your shirt.
You remember that? So there's like all this heartfelt
Where do you
dialogue
get that
for people,
stuff?
and then
That's
here
awesome.
I come and I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy they've all been talking about for 20 minutes with my Shitter's Full shirt on.
Great way to end it all.
But even like beyond that, like we just hit it off, and that initial consultation, I remember it was you told me that like, hey, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I'm going to put it out there. I might have a house to sell in the spring, like during our initial meeting. And it was so just like background noise. I mean, I heard you, and I think I even wrote something down, but everything was just so like, Quinn's party's coming up. We're planning for this party. If it happens, it happens. And it's really just like the perfect example of just how my business even operates in just almost getting business inadvertently. I didn't even mean for that to happen, but it just sort of happened, and now here we are 2 years later.
So I remember asking you if you sold old people's big ass houses.
Well, I hang out at old people's big ass venues.
And you
You're
said,
not old.
yes, I do. And I was like, okay, well, I think we may want to sell our house. Well, because everybody I knew you had been their realtor were all these young, cute friends that I have made and know in town,
Yeah.
Younger, not 20-year-olds, but, younger people that, would say that Seth had sold their house. And I was like, I wonder if he sells old people's houses. And so anyway, but yeah, no, I would say that had not met you and had that interaction, I probably wouldn't have called you. If I hadn't have met you.
Isn't that funny how things just really, like, you just fast
really
forward to
is.
today and here we are. So much has happened. Of course, we'll get into the rest of it. But everything was as a result of Blair being pissed off because I'd waited to the last minute, knew I wanted to be there, calling you, and here we are. But so the other thing, I guess the other cool thing about high voltage is you share the space there with Paul. Mm-hmm. So I'd never met Paul. I knew you, and I knew everyone had validated you, obviously, and everyone loves you. And I didn't know Paul at all. All I knew is that he had the axe house. We had been there one time, but I'd never met Paul.
Gotcha.
Throwing axes and everything, that was awesome. But how's this going to work? Like, bringing my crew in here, not knowing like the character of this guy and not knowing anything about him. Man,
I know.
What a good dude, and how like you all have like sort of established this symbiotic relationship there.
Well, so you want to know something even crazier?
I want to know everything about that, honestly.
So when we moved back to Kingsport 14 years ago, Paul Sapino came out to my house and completely did all my renovations. He basically lived with us for about 6 months. You know how it is when you are doing all of that.
Yeah, even if Paul wasn't doing work here, I would be cool with Paul coming and living with me for a few years.
Well, I mean, he was there every morning. I met his whole family. I mean, I've known Paul. I've known him for 15 years.
Yeah.
And, oh, my gosh, the jokes we have between us, and I couldn't even tell them. But he's awesome.
You can. This is actually a really safe space.
No, there's some I couldn't tell. But, I mean, he's awesome. And when he came in and said, Ann, I want to put an axe house here, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And he goes, I'm actually totally serious. And I said, Paul, I've got an extra garage out back. I was like, take the garage, turn it into axe throwing. You can use my Wi-Fi, you can drink our beer, and just see what it would do. And I was like, this is a huge space. And he goes, I need a big space. So anyway, it's so funny because I couldn't write a business plan if you're holding a gun to my head, and I have a business. But he went and he really did it the right way. He wrote a business plan. He did all his research, And he came back and he said, everybody told me to start big, not to start small. Thank you for your garage, but I don't want it. I want this space. And I looked at what he had done, and I was like, I mean, you did what I was supposed to do. I'm so lucky High Voltage is okay. And it has been the best partnership for a million reasons. It's great for High Voltage. It's great for Access. Relationship-wise, it's amazing that we get to work together.
Yeah. Well, and especially through something like COVID, because almost every day is not going to be a good day for you.
Exactly.
But you've got this person next to you who can pick you up, and then vice versa.
And who looks at life and faith and family and everything the exact same way.
Yeah,
So
that's so cool.
it's an absolute pleasure to get to work with them every day.
Well, just getting to know him like that night at the party, and of course,
Oh, he's a mess.
he is a mess. But he's such a good dude, and like,
Oh, he really is.
and just saying that, like, hey, he's a good dude and he's a mess. He's a lot like you and I.
Yeah.
I like to consider myself a good person, but I'm a train wreck. I really am.
For you, he really would.
Yeah.
And but he like, that's the other thing. He like thinks he's got the best job in the world. He said, I thought I loved my job as a handyman, but man, I get to come in here and help people have fun and
Right there.
use saws and drink beer
and throw axes.
and throw axes. Yeah, he's awesome. So yeah, never say never. It's crazy, but that was a game changer for High Voltage for sure.
And that was a game changer for me, that party. And
Oh,
because I think
good.
I got so much good feedback, not only from everyone who showed up, but then they start talking about, hey, you need to use this guy because go to his page and check out what he just did for all of us. And that's the thing, man. Like, these people are coming to me and they're buying houses or they're allowing me to sell houses. And I don't understand why more people don't do things like this, because it's like literally the least I can do is just throw a party and us have a really good time based off of what you've done for me and my family and letting me transact with you
but the thing is, it's natural for you because that's like the natural thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's legitimate. It's not fake. It's not put on,
Well, I've had so many people who have come to me and be like, so-and-so referred me.
Let's do it again. What is this?
Well,
August? We better get something on the books.
And you're getting ahead of
okay.
the itinerary here. I guess the agenda, not the itinerary, since we're not traveling. But anyway, people were literally coming and like, hey, so I'm going to use you. Does this mean I can come to your axe party at the end of the year? And obviously we didn't get to do it this past year because COVID just wrecked everybody's plans. If, you wanted to get together, it just didn't happen. So we sent people to the Speedway and Lights. But since Ann has kind of made the illusion already, yes, we're going to throw down at the Axe House and High Voltage again this year. As soon as Blair puts a fire under me and
it tells you better get going
together, right? So I'm thinking about like if there's some availability around October, a costume party, or if we have to push back to December again, totally fine. We'll do the sweater party. I've got the shitters full hanging up in there still. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, we better talk about that.
We'll figure that out either way. So fast forward a little bit from us meeting, then we have the party, and then all of a sudden I get a call, and you're like, hey, Tyler and I, we think we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I come over to 222 Southwood, look around, take pictures, do my thing. We come to an agreement on price where we need to be, and we go on the market.
Yeah.
So I guess what was thought process between like, hey, we might be doing this, to giving me the call and being like, hey, let's do it.
So complete truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have a good time in here. It's a safe space, but we're honest and transparent.
Well,
right?
So here's the thing. We had, we probably bought and sold 4 houses in our married life, in our adult life. And every time it had been associated with a job. So, Tyler's a physician, so the new physician comes to town and they put you with the realtor and they introduce you to the banker and all this stuff that you should probably feel blessed about. But I'm kind of like, that's just makes me a little uncomfortable. But anyway, we've never, we've always had wonderful realtors, but we've never chosen our realtor.
Right.
It's just, I guess we could have said we don't want that person, but we've never, we've always been very happy. But we've
For those
never,
physicians out there, yes, you can choose your own.
yes, you can. But we just never did, I guess.
Right.
And so this time I was like, I think we can choose our realtor. And so we decided that for the first time in our life, we were going to like think it through.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had you out, and we really liked your process. We liked your process, but when you came the second time, we really liked your process because, and I don't want to get sidetracked, but we've always sold our houses relatively easily, but we've never really overpriced our houses, in our opinion. We've always asked what we thought was a very fair price. We always do way more to the houses we buy than we should, and we, I'm sure, don't get all that back. But we've always sold them quickly and felt like we had a fair price.
Right.
And so, but that's really hard to come up with what that number is. And so really loved how you helped us get to that. Really like your process. And then we interviewed someone else that we really liked. She was a little more traditional, and she was a Clemson fan, so
Oh, yeah?
it was tough.
I don't see how I won that out.
Serious, me either.
Because
really.
you rolled up in here in the Clemson tumbler, and I was like, no, you've got to have the logo stamped.
I like the logo. I'm versatile that way. But anyway, no, we really liked her as well.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, I said, I just feel like I'd really like to work with Seth. And I think times are changing because it was during the, it was during the pandemic. I mean, we're still during the pandemic, but I just thought, I think now's the time to do the new way, more the way you do things with a lot of social media. And some of that, makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, because your house is basically just like,
Yeah.
here's where we live.
Exactly.
In our master closet. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it made me a little uncomfortable, but that good kind of uncomfortable, like I trusted you to take care of it all.
Yeah.
And felt like, let's push the envelope a little bit and do it a little different this time. So maybe I answered your question or not, but we did actually. And so it felt really great to choose you. Like I said, when you came back that second time, and you had really helped us come up with the price. And I mean, Tyler and I are like night and day. We always have been. We've been married 32 years. But you seem to really get both of us as well. And
It's funny you say that because, I just from the moment we met, I got you. We were just same wavelength and everything. The first time I met Tyler, I was super intimidated by Tyler.
Well, he can be intimidating.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was just, Tyler's got this, this super deep voice, and he looks you square in the eye as I do too. But I'm goofy and demonstrative and animated. And he doesn't say much. I'm like, God, this dude's not saying to me much. Like, he's not talking to me much at all.
He doesn't like me.
What have I done? Like, because you poured us a couple glasses of wine. I was like, man, is it okay if I drink this wine?
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Yeah. But seriously, the more I got to know Tyler, that's just Tyler. Like,
Yeah,
he's a
it is.
super good dude now. Like, Tyler's
he's just not. He's just an introvert, and he just he's an awesome man. But we are very different. Like on the first time you meet us, for sure.
Blair and I both totally the same way. Like so. But yeah, the more I got to know him, I was just like, man, he's a dude. He's a total dude.
Well, he'll speak up when he's got something he really wants to say. But
Yeah.
he doesn't. I run my mouth enough. He doesn't have time to talk.
Didn't have the time to say much. I've been like that my whole life. Like whether it's my sister growing up or like Blair now, it just continues to trend. Be the same with Quinn and Bo. Like they're not going to get a word in. It just is what it is at this point. So it's kind of cool hearing that backstory and sort of that behind the scenes on it all, because I don't get that much. I mean, I probably will more now since I've got this platform for it.
Yeah.
But I heard a little bit, and I'm going to kind of squirrel here just for a second, because I heard a little bit of that when you and I met the first time. So, not the first time, when we met after the house was sold, because at that point in time, Brittany Robertson had come on board.
Right.
And we met over at High Voltage.
Yeah. And watched the trains go by.
Yeah, watch the trains go by. And we didn't have any of this super fancy equipment, these headphones and microphones.
But
and
we sure did talk, didn't we?
Line Cat Media, Anthony Keys, the professional. We literally had this iPhone and the trains and High Voltage. And Brittany was like, it would be a great idea if we just went over and talked to some of your past sellers that you've transacted with and get a testimonial from them, and then you guys just talk and see where it goes. And of course, I'm concerned that like we'll run out of things to say. Well, we didn't run out of things to say, but the trains didn't stop running either. And so we get this clip back, and you can't hear a damn thing either one of us say for 20 minutes. So it bombed. But Brittany and I walk away from that, and we're like, well, not weird. She looked at me. She was like, you need a podcast. And I was like, a what? She was like, what just happened right there? Like, no one's going to hear what went down for the past 25 minutes. And these were supposed to be like 5-minute clip, just talking about the process. And we didn't shut up the whole time. She was like, what just happened right there? That just reinforced you need a podcast. And so, again, we're on a squirrel here, and we're going to get back to what we're talking about. But that whole conversation is the entire reason behind every bit of this.
Well, you've raised your game up, I'll tell you.
Well,
it's really
thank you.
Very impressive.
But it's all here. It's all born out of you and I just jawing back and forth on the patio.
Doing what we do best.
That's exactly right. So
sure.
Back to the house. So you call me and you're like, hey, we're going to go with you. And I'm like, all right. So what was unique about when we listed? So we listed, it was May, I think it was May of 19 is when, no, May of 20 when we listed.
That sounds about right.
That was, yeah, it was May. Well, I've got notes. May of 20. Yeah, that's exactly when it was. So we're basically listing like right before this sort of crazy happens. COVID real estate uptick in the market thing starts to happen.
Thank goodness.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right, because my experience in selling $750 to $1 million houses in Kingsport prior to that, it is not an easy thing to do. So, we didn't realize what was going on, but we got a lot more showings and a lot more activity than I anticipated us having just off of experience in that sector.
Too.
So, but gosh, we just kept getting like this close but no cigar situation, and it was really because so many people were looking for sort of this mother-in-law scenario in the basement, right? Which you had just like what I would want a basement to be. Our basement
was too fun for
a party zone, man. It's a party zone.
Exactly.
It was like the love child of like a pool hall, a movie theater, and like a good like dive to like bar,
Exactly.
So I'm like, what's the problem here, guys? Why is no one pulling the trigger on this? But everybody's sort of looking to escape the city, bring the folks with them, and experience this multi-generational living in Tennessee on acreage. And we kept just like barely missing these offers here. And then comes, so let me back up just for a second. So where was like your and Tyler's thought process with this during this?
We were so fine with it because we were physically ready to sell. We had gotten the closets cleaned out basically, but I was still so busy downtown.
You
and
were.
It
I
was
remember that.
So funny. We came back from our vacation. We finally went to the beach. I want to say it was in August. And we're driving back from Charleston, and I said, I am finally ready to sell my house. I really want it to sell now. And I think we sold it 3 weeks later.
That's odd because you hadn't told me that before. That whole
I was like, I was ready, of course. I would have been ready, but I wasn't really ready. And I was like, finally, I had gotten things in order, and we'd gotten a vacation where I felt like myself again. And I was like, okay, I'm finally ready to sell the house. And that's when it started happening. So we were oddly perfectly fine with it. I don't think we were ever really in a hurry because we also were, like, we wanted to sell it because we were just tired of all the upkeep and the space.
Right.
But we didn't have to sell it. We could have been there for 10 more years and been fine. But or so we thought. But now that we don't have it, we realize we really were supposed to get rid of it.
Yeah. It's just crazy how when you go from
we didn't realize a house would stress us.
Yeah.
But I think it did because we're so less stressed without all that.
And that's so cool.
Isn't that weird? I know that you'd let a house stress you, but
sure, but there's really no like standard of comparison.
No,
you've been in these
not.
big houses for how many years? You bounced around from place to place, and then you finally settle in, and like all the rooms are being utilized now and there's not as much to
I
clean.
know. We got
And
to our little 1,500 square foot rental house, and we were like happy as pigs in slop. It was awesome. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we grew a little tired of that. We were ready to move, but honestly, the whole process has been delightful. It was great to cleanse. It was great to have my kids come through my house and say, Mom, I really don't want anything, but maybe that, and that. So I was like, you know what? If my kids don't want it, why am I worried about it? Who wants it? Come get it, It's just it shouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
So that part was really good.
Because I'm
And
sure
then-
you're stressed about that too. You've
Well,
held on to
yeah.
these things for a while.
And it's also stupid. You're like, God, I paid so much for that stupid coffee table. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Nobody wants it, whether you paid too much for it or not.
Right.
It's still worth zero.
But hearing these things now, it's like there were some things that kind of aligned. I did not know about coming back from vacation when you were like, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Because literally like 2 weeks after that was when I got a call from Mike and Leslie Robinson. And the ironic thing about that, and I told you this, you know the story, but Leslie was referred to me by someone I just sold a home to in Jonesboro, and they worked on the railroad together. So, Anthony, you'll appreciate this with the Wise County connections. So I call Leslie. I'm like, hey, Leslie, this is Seth Jervis. You were referred to me and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, I'm from Appalachia, right? I was like, what? No, she was like, I'm Brent Smith's mom. Now, I don't know if you knew Brent Smith or not, but Brent Smith grew up on the river in the old bottom, new bottom, in Appalachia. And I say old and new, like they're these two, large areas. There's 1,200 people in Appalachia, Virginia, right? But I literally, grew up around Brent, and I'd been in Leslie's house, and I played in the creek. She was like, me and my new husband, Mike, we're looking at relocating from Dandridge. I'm in Roanoke with Norfolk Southern, and, we're doing this, that, and another, and we're looking to be somewhere a little more centrally located, and here's what we're looking for. And she sent me the house next door to you because it had just come onto the market.
Right.
And I was like, I've got this house next to that one in case this one doesn't pan out. That sounds like it's a little more your speed, but we'll check them both out. We go to the first one. We look at it, and it's dated. It's really choppy. I was really surprised by just how many individual rooms there were, and you couldn't really. It was just hard to really define spaces in there because there were so many walls. And I was like, well, let's go check the next one out. And it was just like, boom. We walked in, and Leslie looked at me and just swooned. And I was just like, wow, this is really going to happen. Like, how crazy is this that I have this stinking party, list this place for Ann, become good friends with them. I get a call from one of my high school or elementary school friends' mothers who wants to look at this house, and then all of this is aligned.
Yeah, you
just
can't make it up.
literally over a week and a half. So to hear that you were ready to sell the house, Leslie comes along, and really the whole process was really good, with the exception of their lender.
Right.
Who I'm
which
not going to
nobody
mention
can
names.
control.
And it wasn't their fault.
Oh, no, it wasn't their fault at all.
And the VP of that, I'm not going to say the name. I don't do that. But of that particular lending branch called me. And you know what I appreciated the most was he owned it, man. I was like, I'm going to respect a little bit of honesty. And thank you for owning it. Mm-hmm. And still not going to use you because this isn't the first time this has happened with you guys. But I certainly appreciate the hell out of you coming forward and being like, hey, we dropped the ball on this. Yep. And we've sucked for the past 2 weeks, essentially.
Exactly.
But we end up closing, and it was literally, even when we were there at the closing table at the downtown office, it just felt right.
Well, and we still email. She's so
There you go.
happy. And, she's emailed me about a couple things, and what's this plant? Do I cut this one down? Like, no, don't cut that one down. It's an heirloom. And then she's like, I think we're going to put a pool in. And she asked me some
they
questions.
Are actually.
And, so it's been, there's just nothing better than somebody being happy in your house that you were happy in.
Right.
In a different, we had a happy life in that house.
Well, it was
so
literally
it's
just
awesome.
kind of passing the baton there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And to kind of backpedal a little bit and talk about, the sort of the obstacles that we overcame. And poor Mike, man, he was just turning over document after document after document. Like he had to pay off a tractor, like a significant, and I'm not talking about like a John Deere, like zero turn. I'm talking about like something you see out in the fields of Iowa type tractor, and he was like, fine, I'll pay it off. And then it turned out I don't think he had to. And he was like, I've got collateral and I'm putting a huge chunk of change down. So like it took 2 months to close that. I mean, typically you're looking 30 to 45 and we were a little beyond 60, I think, on that just because the ball kept getting dropped or
but
passed
same
off.
thing, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't. It really didn't.
I mean, that's one of the things too, I have to say. Every other time we've sold or bought a house, we've had kids that needed to get into school. We needed to be in this neighborhood. There's
Amen.
always, and this was like the first time in our life where it was like, it didn't really matter. And so, yay, it didn't really matter.
So you talked about this about 5 minutes ago. So you go from Southwood, 70 some hundred square feet
To 15.
to Hermitage, 1,500. So,
and we have everything is early attic. It's whatever nobody else wanted or they didn't buy. I mean, we just did this little mishmash and we loved it. Tyler's bathroom was literally, he's never had a closet that small. But you know what? It was just a wonderful change. We knew it wouldn't be forever, but it really, honestly, we called them our little house lessons. We learned so much in that little house.
yeah.
About what we wanted to do next. And I really think we would have messed up if we hadn't lived in the little house with our next purchase.
Yeah.
We would have bought way more than we wanted. We had gotten similar back into
To what you had been accustomed to having, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that you literally were experiencing like both ends of the spectrum there,
We
and
were.
realized that like we need to kind of go towards the center here. South
Yeah,
Ridge,
but I just
Hermitage.
also realized like my pets laid on us all the time because there wasn't anywhere for all of us to go in our own rooms, and Tyler's office was right there. I mean, everything was right there. And at Southwood, he was way up here, and I thought, you know what? He didn't know what I was doing half the time at Southwood. He couldn't hear me, couldn't see me, and hear like we're about on top of each other. But it was really good. He wrapped Christmas presents with me for the first time in 30 years.
I remember you telling me
And
that.
I think it was because he actually knew I was wrapping presents, and before he never really knew because he was so far away.
I'm going to expand on that a little bit because it's that, but it's also a testament to y'all's relationship too, because this literally happens. Like people will sell these giant houses, or they'll be in houses with kids, or a combination of the two. And then kids go, empty nest situation happens. They get something smaller and they realize, you know what? This is a little too tight for me.
I don't really like you.
I don't really like you.
Well, we've always said the secret to our happy marriage is we're never together.
Yeah, but you know what's awesome is like in Hermitage you guys were, and he's
Yeah, we
like,
were.
hey, you know what? That looks kind of cool. Let me come over and help you wrap Christmas gifts. So
Yeah, it
that's
was
just
really
a testament. That's a
nice.
testament to you guys.
Yeah, it was a really good experience, I would say. It really was, and it really helped us look for
The right size
the
space.
right size space moving forward, because I really want to leave my current house, either to go to the home, to the nursing home, or to the funeral home. I don't want to move again.
So again, sort of fate rears its head for the second time in our short-lived relationship here at this point in time, in that I'm getting ready to list a house on Watauga Street. I've gone in and we've done the punch list. I'm like, hey, here's what I feel like it's worth. And then it's like, light bulb.
This is perfect.
This is perfect. So, house over on Watauga Street. I tell the sellers, like, hey, I've got somebody who I think will be really interested in this. And, there's this weird thing going on right now with this market to where, for the most part, you need to go on the market to utilize, like, get as many people in as you can, get as many offers as you possibly can. Let's review them. Let's send them back. Let's say, hey, you've got 24 hours to get us your best. Yeah, it is an absolute Shark Tank of a market for buyers. However, there are some anomalies. convenience being that anomaly. These particular sellers, 3 small children. Here's what this is going to look like for you guys. You're not going to be able to be in your house for probably 72 straight hours because of the number of showings that it's going to garner. Would it be more advantageous? Would it be more convenient for you guys to do that and get absolute as much as you possibly can? Or, we've got Ann and Tyler who are going to be paying. Well, you guys financed a little bit, I think, on it. Yeah, you put a significant amount of money down. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to try to attempt to keep your house in tip-top condition for every showing that's going to be coming through here. So there's this convenience factor that comes into play also that a lot of people have utilized, specifically with small children. And they were like, hey, offer them this. If they take it, it's more than what you'll probably get, or a little less than what you'll probably get. But can you put a price on having to drag these kids out every single day?
Well, we did the same thing with our house when we had a 1 and a 3-year-old.
Oh, dude.
They showed it. They opened it up for the realtors, and we got an offer. We took it.
Yeah.
And our neighbor was like, "You're nuts. You could have gotten more than that." And I said, "When you have a 1 and a 3-year-old, get back to me."
That's exactly right. Blair's best friend did the same situation when I listed her house.
I can't tell you what it's worth.
Yeah. And I told her, I was like, look, we can go on.
I cleaned it once.
They had a 1 and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
She was like, you got somebody who will give you what you told me it's worth?
And a dog.
Take it.
Exactly.
I'm done.
Same.
I don't want to go on the market and deal with that. So
but being on the other side of that was also just delightful. And and we wouldn't have had it if we didn't have you. And the other thing was, I just knew you'd find me something.
Yeah.
I didn't feel any stress. We had this little rental. We were getting to the point where we were kind of ready.
I could say the same.
I know.
God, am I going to find anything or not?
I know. I was like, I don't know. I felt such a peace. And I guess the thing was, we were like, if we have to rent this house for another year, we'll rent the house for another year.
Yeah. At least you got some help at Christmas in 2021, exactly. Right? Wrapping gifts.
Exactly. And the biggest thing was that when our kids came home, there was like nowhere to put a suitcase or even them. But, they weren't home that much. But anyway, no, we love our house. It's just our perfect house. Yeah. It's the perfect size, the perfect location. We couldn't be happier.
And that's the most reassuring thing ever, hearing that.
We couldn't be happier.
And because when I took you guys in the first time, it checked so many of those boxes in,
I know. We
updated, you want open concept, and the upstairs, a couple of the bathrooms, they were a little dated, but they were pristine.
Yeah,
they
were
were
perfect.
And that was the thing. You're like, well, I don't care. Which, you're a lot like I am. We're not going to be up here. We're going to have guests up here.
No, and also it's real vintage ceramic tile. Who could punch it out?
Still in that condition.
Yeah, I'd say this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no.
But no, slam dunk. It's awesome. We love it.
That's so awesome.
We love it.
Are you guys utilizing the site? Because I know the walkability of Fair Acres, that was a big thing. So
oh gosh, yes. It's great. Yeah, we're walking all the time, almost every night. I walk the dog 4 times a day. But
got to get that fence up.
It's just amazing how fast Tyler can be at the hospital and how fast I can be at high voltage. And the house is plenty spacious, but it's just all right in one place. It's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
It's awesome. Elaine got to come home for literally 12 hours. She lives in Chicago. And Charles still hasn't been in it. And Elaine was like, okay, we got to figure out how we can come home for Thanksgiving. We've got to all be here. This is going to be so much fun because we all like to do the same things and we're all eat, drink, and be merry. And it's just a great place for that.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping we can be together.
So speaking of Elaine, like I told you, I was like, gosh, I've got to get some kind of dirt on Ann. And I reached out to Elaine and I was like, every experience I've had with your mom has just been the perfect experience.
Oh, please.
And I don't I'm serious, Ann. I'm waiting for you to just do, screw up and do something so I can be like, oh, okay.
You don't have to look too hard.
She's kind of normal. I've got this community steward who is a downtown Kingsport advocate, has a small business in downtown Kingsport. So I was like, Elaine, give me some dirt. And all she could come up with was like, well, someone thought she was their kid thought they were her grandfather. So, what was this?
So you know how it is when your first kid goes to school. And
I don't at all, unless we're talking about elementary school. I do at that point. Yes.
So Charles was in kindergarten, and once you could finally come eat lunch with them, I go eat lunch, and I got to talk to everybody. I can't just sit there. So we're sitting there. And his people are all around him, and you're at the little table, And so I look at the little guy across from me, and I said, so what's your name? And he goes, Logan. And I said, hi, Logan. I'm Ann. And he goes, are you his grandma? And I said, you really know how to hurt a girl, Logan.
Yeah, dagger, Logan.
So Charles is 27. So he would, how old are you in kindergarten? 6?
Yeah, you're
So I was
6'5".
probably 40.
Oh, man.
And he thought I was just good. I know there's plenty of 40-year-old grandmothers. I'm not trying to judge that. But I think I looked pretty decent. But yeah.
So that's what it was. So yeah, she was like, I don't have much, but there's this. So that was the story. But was his name really Logan?
His name was Logan.
So that's resonated then. So that's where I'm going at with it. That is great.
Yeah, but I screw up plenty. You don't have to look too far to find those.
Well, listen. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to cut this, and then you and I have some planning to do.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
For the second annual Seth Jervis Klein Appreciation Party.
Great fun.
And we'll listen to some more Commodores also.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
He sells homes. He sells homes in different area codes. Area